Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of MasterCraft Fishing in the Shop. And today as I described last week, we're going to have an update on the SMC5. And we did, get our email back, and we do have the file on here. So what I'm going to do is put this on the bench. I'm going to fire it up, and then we'll see what's on this update disk. Hopefully, the this isn't the same operating system that's on it now, because we'd like to have the backlash control and a few other features like being able to switch it into English instead of everything being in metric, because I'm not too sure how this is going to react if I'm trying to set all the pulses for making the motors work in metric when I'm working in inches. And I mean, I'm sure the conversion will work, but I'd rather have it all be in inches. It's just easier to do because I already have all my numbers figured out for the way it's running now. But I'll tell you what, I'm just going to put the camera on the floor. I'll get the unit itself all powered up, and then we'll put it in. I got an email from them as well on basically how to install this update on the controller itself. So what we're going to do is I'll fire it up, and we also have I got to kind of bring a whole mess here, but actually I won't do that yet. But I'm going to hook a relay up to it, and I'll show you how that works. And maybe I'll get a couple different relays because the board itself has 3 relays in it. And so we can actually control, spindle, coolant, maybe an air nozzle, or, something of that nature. So let me get this all set up for us, and I'll be right back. Okay, so far so good. We have everything all powered up here. I'm not too sure how well you can see that. I've the camera as close as I can get it. So let me grab that email. And what does it say? After receiving the file, I have the file on here. Copy this file. Yep, already did that. All right, we just gotta put it in the controller. And in factory mode. So where is factory mode? We will do this. Aha, there's factory mode. Factory mode's up here in the corner. I don't want to stretch out the power cables too much, but it's there. So, and after it's in factory mode, I guess we just enter that. Now we have to add in a code. Let's see. Okay, so we have to enter in S. SM. Oh no. Backspace. S. Z. MAPO. MAP, and that's 0, I guess. And then let's see. And we'll say OK, and then we'll say OK again. I guess that was it. Well, an update. Basically, it seems like we got something going on here. We have a CNC update, it says, and we have some stuff. I think I was just doing something wrong. Hopefully, this is what we need. I'm hoping. We'll soon see. It's going to take a little bit to load, I guess. So, fingers crossed, everyone. Once this is done loading, I'll turn it back on and I'll let you know what we got. Well, basically, it looks as though this is just it's an updated uh, version, except there's no backlash control. Um, the machine is still in, even though you have it in English, your motor settings are still in metric. Let's see. And as far as the tools, I'm not sure what that is, but it doesn't have anywhere where you can just touch off a tool and say, okay, there we go. You know, I guess somehow you gotta just put in your offset. So I'm not sure what to say, really. Okay, so I've had a few days to fool around with the controller, and I did send a few more emails off, and I talked to a gentleman over there, and we tried to figure out basically how to get it to move in inches, and he gave me a few suggestions to try, which did not work, and that's pretty much a bummer. Um, you know, some of the things I wish that I had known before I purchased this, and I wish the sellers would advertise, you know, that it doesn't have backlash control, and, you know, a few of the other features, they just kind of label as the best controller ever that's going to take care of Mach 3, and there's no real detailed specifications about the machine, so, you know, without knowing, you know, that these things aren't in there, and then you go and spend the $320 to purchase it, and then when you get it, you hope to hook it up to the machine, and everything's going to run like a standard CNC controller, which is unfortunately not the case. It's missing another feature, like, you know, on a standard CNC control, when you touch off your tool, normally you'll have a button on the side. They'll say set tool, and when you touch it off, if you're using a shim like I do, I mean, you can use a probe on this, but you have to probe each individual tool. So even though you have a tool table, you can't set each tool with the probe. It only will do one at a time. So you'll set tool 1 and you'll probe it, it'll set the 0 for it, and then when you run that tool, you have to put tool 2 in, put that down there, probe that, run the tool 2 on the program. Other than that, I'm assuming that you just touch off with the shim, you take your dimension that reads on the readout, and you hope that you have it, you know, in the right coordinate system. You write down your Z value, then you punch that into the controller, and you'll be able to run multiple tools that way. Normally what you do is when you use the shim method, you touch it off with the shim, you'll push a button here that says set tool, and it'll write the value into your offset page, and you go on to your next tool and you do the same thing and you hit the button set tool. Well, this unfortunately doesn't have any sort of set tool buttons on it either. So I tried setting it into inch mode. It will read inches in a program. Unfortunately, when it reads the inches, it runs in metric values. So if you're moving an inch, it thinks that it's moving an inch in metric, and it just doesn't formulate between the way the motors are running, the program, and the algorithm that's in there. It's off a considerable amount as far as I could tell. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a nice controller. I mean, it's going to work for someone who runs primarily in metric. There's going to be someone with a CNC router who's just getting into it, and they're going to have 5 axes to work with. And it does take pretty much, I've run several different post processors into this. It seems to like anything that runs a Fanuc controller. This basically seems to have a Fanuc algorithm in it. You could use one like if you're programming and normally use the post processor for Mach 3, it works in here. It works with a Haas one as well. It doesn't work with the Simmons or any of those types, but any of the Fanuc ones, it seems to work very well. And yet the limit switches, they're all pretty straightforward to hook up. I mean, you just hook up your ground and your positive to break the connection. Everything works good there. I'm not going to bother showing you how to set up relays and all of that on here, because basically what I'm going to do with this controller now is I'm going to put it on eBay, and I'm going to attempt to sell this. So I'll probably get maybe a quarter of the money that I spent on it. That's about probably what someone's willing to pay. And but we'll put it on there. We'll see if we can't get 50 bucks for it or something. And pretty much, I guess that's what covers it. I mean, the things I wish I knew before I bought it, and those are a few of the things. And if none of those things bother you, I would say purchase it. But if you need backlash control and you'd like a certain way to set your tools, and the other thing that it doesn't have is it doesn't have a start button for like your coolant, so you can turn your coolant on. It doesn't have a start button for, let's say you want to start your spindle. You can probably assign buttons in it somewhere, but I didn't see a dialogue that for button setting, as far as saying that number 8 will turn on your spindle, or whatever, something like that. I didn't seem to have any controls like that. So that is pretty much going to sum up the controller part. And I guess basically next week what I'm going to do is I'll probably have those all set up, running the profile on it. I have a few other tasks that we have to take care of, because we're trying to get all of these parts built before fall. And I still have the LX parts to run. I still have Hummingbird parts to run. So you're pretty much going to see the process of all of this. I mean, sure, I'm losing a bunch of subscribers, but oh well, it doesn't really matter in the end of it anyways. I mean, you need like 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers to be really anything as far as, and then you may not even get on a platform where you can actually earn money with YouTube. So at this point, I'm just recording it just to see my own face. So, alright, we'll see you guys next week, and take care. And I do thank you for the 13 people who are watching, because I get those same 13 views every week. Alright, thanks guys. We'll see you.